sound you never heard of. Hey everybody, welcome to the Common Folk Podcast with Ben, Morgan, and Andy.
All right, welcome back to Common Folk.
Let's go. Part two?
Part two. Part
Yes,
deux.
sir. All right.
Duh?
Part deux.
Wait, what is it in Mandarin?
Dos.
Two
Oh my gosh!
seconds.
Well, I've been practicing my Spanish so much that all of a sudden
Or Chinese.
It's R. That's
R?
what it is, yeah.
Okay.
E-R. Mm-hmm.
R.
Part
R.
Wait, do you have to say it like that?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Do we need to have a patch on?
No, you said
It
you
is
did the
about-
R like you were like an Asian person. You did.
No, I didn't.
You did like R.
Did I really?
I thought that was
Yeah.
pirate.
Yeah, I was
that's
trying
what
to be
I-
a pirate.
Because it's
Yeah.
Halloween month. Come on.
That's not what I heard.
Okay.
Wow.
Oh,
we're going off
really?
the deep
That's what you
end.
heard?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Wow. Wait,
Uh,
I just look up. There's a dead bug.
okay.
That's random.
Yeah, there's dead bug. All right.
Okay, we
Squirrel.
need to clean up.
All right, so we're back. We've got Josh and Becky Johnson with Dehner Boot Company. In our previous recording, we kind of went through their background. There's so much more that we could talk about on that, and hopefully we will someday.
Yes.
But in the consideration of time, we went ahead and split this up into two for you folks. So, and also to leave you hanging from last week,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
you couldn't
Yeah, I
wait to
can't-
come back.
Can't dish it all out at one time.
Yeah, for sure. So, welcome again, folks. How you doing?
We're great.
Doing great.
Yeah.
Super great.
Great.
And just, yeah, excited to actually talk about the company a little bit deeper. This will
Yeah.
be fun.
So on earlier, Josh, you told us a quick little snippet about how kind of the company, when the company started, kind of the timeline they went through and those kinds of things. We talked about kind of how you guys came up, your backgrounds, and then what brought you back to Nebraska. And you mentioned in February of 24, I think, is when you moved back to Nebraska. We're now in October of 25, so coming up on a couple of years. When you guys came back to Nebraska, what was your plan, like work-wise?
Yeah, no, great question. So we knew we wanted to get here to the Omaha area. We would get settled in first following my retirement from the Marine Corps, and do our job searching and go from there.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our mutual friends, Kirk Hansen, shout out to Kirk at Access Commercial. He called me out of the blue one day. He knew that we were job searching and looking for our next adventure, and he said, "Well, what do you think about a boot company?" And I was like, "I'll tell you exactly what I told him at the time. I know two things about a boot company and running a boot company, and that's jack and squat." But he's like, "Well, take a look at its website, and then I think it's worth it for you to come down, you and Becky, to come down and look at the factory." And so we did, and went on down there. First looked at it without any of the folks that were there, the team that was there, and went back a second time after it was starting to gnaw at us a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Went back a second time and actually got to meet the team, and I think from there is when we left, looked at each other. In the car as we were driving away, and we're like,
So we're gonna buy a boot company, huh?
so we're buying a boot company.
You got the tick.
Yeah, it was the we didn't really know what to expect, and we had been doing some business adjacent stuff for a little bit. We had some real estate, so we'd purchased on a couple of residential real estate things. We had a rental property. I had been managing a rental for us for a little bit, so I felt like there was some aspect of us that knew, like, hey, we're capable of doing something kind of business related, and we had talked about family business, in the long down the line, but we hadn't made any plans as to what that would be, and so when this kind of showed up, it felt a little serendipitous that we were just like, well, let's just let's just go see. And then after we met the people is what changed it for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me back up just a little bit. The reason why it was even available, essentially, in the first place was the previous owner, so fourth generation owner had unexpectedly passed away in December of 23. So they had spent that time up until about April timeframe when Kirk had reached out about potentially buying the company, basically in limbo. The wife of the previous owner, she was at the end of her professional career, didn't have a lot of interest in trying to keep the company running at that point, and really had already put a notice out to a lot of our customers and dealers saying that Dehner was going to shut the doors. So we were kind of coming in at the 11th hour.
Yeah. So you just mentioned April of 24. Is that when you guys first went and visited the facility?
That was our first introduction, our first tour of the facility, the first time we spoke with the craftsmen and the sewers and kind of saw the operation and what was being made and seeing the finished products.
Yeah.
And yeah, for us, I mean, and you guys saw it when you were there, like the machinery that the team is working on is the same machinery that has, I think for most of it, been there since the 30s when they came here. It is 100-year-old giant cast iron equipment that like they just, when they say they don't make it like they used to.
Oh, yeah.
That's what
this
that
is
means.
it. Yeah. And the quality, I mean, we started speaking with some of the customers and reading some of the testimonials where they're like, oh, yeah, I've had this pair of boots for 30 years. I've had this pair of boots for, normally I replace them once a year, or even the police officers, who were saying, oh, yeah, I love that you're going to stay open because, when we invest in one pair of Dehner boots, we're not having to replace it for our officers once, but every, 6-7 years, and that's with daily use. And, it became really clear to us that this was something special.
Yeah. I was just thinking about something. So the process so in April you go and look at that, and then, you guys had decided on your second visit, like, yeah, we want to do this. From then until when you kind of officially get the keys, what does that process look like, and how long is that?
So we ended up closing in October of 2024. So it was a long process.
So 6 months it took, yeah.
Yeah, part of it and part of what made it special was that as a very old company, they were still operating very much in paper documents, paper records. There was one computer that had QuickBooks Desktop, and that was where they did it. They had one little machine that processed credit cards if somebody called during the right time. Like, it was very old school. And so when it came time for us to do an appraisal of the business to determine what a purchase price looked like, that became a process in its own, where we ended up hiring a company to come in and help us. And it wasn't as if they could just say, like, oh, here's the books and here's your inventory log and here's this. I mean, we inherited the whole facility that had decades of product that, had been set down and then not touched again for, in some aspects, 20, 30, 40 years at this site. And so part of, what took so long was the trying to figure out and assign value to a lot of what would be considered like priceless items, because a machine that's 100 years old, despite being really, really cool, is really more of a liability than it is an asset at a certain point. And so we had to make sure that as much as we loved it and wanted to do it, we were responsible in educating ourselves on the risks and that we understood the amount of effort and energy it was going to take to put into it. So for us, that 6 months was in addition to going over there regularly, trying to help ourselves with what inventory could be done. We developed a really good relationship with Sue, the previous owner's wife who inherited it. And, we were doing all that we could to make sure that this was a smooth process for her. This wasn't a situation where we were trying to like swoop in and take advantage of a situation. That was the opposite of what we wanted. And it was really important to her that it's maintained, it was still a family business at the end of all this. So during that time, I got in touch with and took advantage of the Veterans Business Outreach Center here in Omaha. They partner with the Nebraska Enterprise Fund to offer a lot of classes and free education, and I attended QuickBooks seminars and small business startup, and Baird Home, the company that they provided a legal seminar for small businesses that I attended. And so I just took, again, being the nerd, every opportunity to take every free class I could possibly take in that time to prepare us. And Josh got to really have a lot of fun shoe shopping online and getting ideas. No.
But was this still a real, I mean, could it have not gone through like all this whole time, or you already knew?
No, it's still very much.
Okay, so you were doing this, and it could have just fell through.
Yep.
Okay. No, and you knew that. All right, that was my question. Like, wow.
Yeah, I was also working then too. So shortly, in April, we decided we were going to try to start figuring it out, but we didn't. We didn't know if it was going to be a thing. So I had started working at an employment firm, which was great. It was a super awesome opportunity. They're Hemp Hill. You guys are great. And yeah, they gave me a really wonderful opportunity to come help them. They needed some help. I needed something to do. And yeah, they really helped also kind of build community for us and put us in touch with people who were able to provide me guidance and small business leadership advice and some mentorship. Dan Hemp Hill gave me a lot of advice that I was thankful for. So in addition to doing that, I was also working, and then, we had 2 little girls and a 5-acre property, so Josh was doing a lot of mowing and all of the things as we tried to figure out what our routine was going to look like.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you guys are both veterans. How much of your military experience and just your experience in those particular jobs has been able to translate into some of this, especially in the beginning there? I mean, it's when you're taking that leap, you're trying to decide, man, we're going to get into this business. Like, this is no joke. And you're going through the process of learning all these things you need to learn and seeing how much, you're risking and how much you're putting on the line and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that kind of thing comes from, either something that you're born with or something that you've learned a lot about in one way or another, or maybe a combination. But I mean, how much of your military experience kind of translated and helped you see this through so far?
It's instrumental. And, if you go back to and listen to the first episode, just talking about the difference with enlisted and officers. Mm-hmm. And I think that where I really learned about leadership is that now as an officer, you have to listen to the people who you're in charge of. Mm-hmm. You have to take the guidance and the information that they're giving you, because they are the ones that have the experience. So when it comes to the boot company, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, we don't know anything about the industry and how the boot is made. But we have the people that are there that have the expertise. So while, yes, you are the leader and you ultimately have to make the decision, you still got to listen to the folks that are, that have been doing the job for so long. So, so you have those aspects of where you draw back on your military experience. But the other thing that I think I particularly learned as a new officer is while that young Marine may say that he or she works for you, really your job is you're working for them. So your job is to clear the way of any obstacles, anything that gets in the way of them being able to do the job. It's the same sort of thing with our folks at the company now. Do they need better equipment? Do they need assistance with anything that's going on with their life or whatever, just to clear the way to ensure that they can do the job right?
Yeah, you said the word there, people you're in charge of, and I kind of feel like you're saying the layman's term, because really it's the people you're responsible for and to. Mm-hmm. You need them, and you really need their knowledge, right? Exactly. So you said in charge of, like, I bet he's more like you're responsible for or responsible to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, because without those guys, I mean,
Yeah.
I now I want to go there. I want to see
you
all
can go
this
see
stuff.
it, yeah.
Like, can you give us a roundabout number of employees?
Yeah, we're up to, I think, 16 now? Ourselves included? Does that include us?
I think
I should
17.
know.
I think it's 17 now.
17
That's
now.
included.
Well,
yeah.
You hired her? No.
And that was a big part of it for us too, is that, and I think somebody else had made the comment to us once as we were doing kind of the paperwork and we had applied for some grants. That was another thing, so making sure that when we set up and structured, we did it in the way that gave us the best opportunity to support those employees, which in our case was to make sure that I'm 51% owner, so that we are a female veteran-owned company. But that also, I remember when we were applying for and take, grants and reaching out for as much help as we could, people were saying, in their applications and when they were calling, hey, these are jobs that we have to save. There's 13, or at the time, however many, there's this many skilled craftsmen and craftswomen doing something that's basically, it's a lost art, and I think that we heard somebody say that once, and it really clicked for us. Like, it's not just that we're buying a business; it's that we are trying to preserve a legacy of craftsmanship. That if this were to go under, if this business were to dissolve, I mean, one of our employees has been working there for 50 years.
I mean, 51? 51. That's
Yeah.
that's insane.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
He's going to quickly correct
He's going to
you.
correct me. Yeah, that
51.
It's 51.
So
now.
yeah, started in 1974.
I think we met that gentleman,
Yeah,
didn't we?
we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was another big moment for us to be like, wow, it's not just here's our next jobs. It's here's an opportunity to really make an impact for these people who this is their life.
Yeah, you're on the front lines waving the flag for American manufacturing. Forget about bringing it back. We've always been here. We're Dehner. That is special. And you're seeing more and more of this, and I think that's where people kind of always wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's a huge gap between, well, this is what I'd like to do, and this is what my wallet, is
right.
going to allow me to do, or, there's always a distinction between the grocery store. I would like to buy from the local egg farm, dairy, whatever, but God damn it, $5 more for the same gallon of milk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you gotta kind of figure that out.
Yeah. One of the things you were talking about earlier, Josh, with leadership, it was very evident when we went and visited how you guys run that operation, and you were coming across when you were talking here just a minute ago about how you've got to make it so that they can all do what they need to do. You got to get out of the way, but give them the tools that they need and the opportunities that they need. And that's 100% what I was picking up on as you guys were walking around the facility and you're showing us how everything works and you're talking to the people out there. And I could see you're just 100% focused on making sure that they've got what they need, that you're just staying out of the way. They're getting the job done. They know they can come to you if they need to, and I'm sure they do at times. But that's where your guys' head's at, and that's one of the things that's going to definitely see the company into the future.
Yeah, we definitely talked about that afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
It was very clear that you guys were very focused on, and I think that's huge.
Yeah, it wasn't and not that all business owners are like this, but it wasn't like a cocky business owner walking around oh, look at this, this is what I do here, and this is what I do here, and it was honestly, it was almost like you guys were visiting the place to a point. That was kind of the feeling I was getting, because you were so reliant on and thankful for all the people that are in there and doing what they're doing. Anyway, that was just the take that I got.
What about there has to be a balance there with what he's getting at, with what Ben's getting at, where you got to walk the tight line, we'll say, where you have to be and you're expected to be hands-on. But God damn it, you better not helicopter me. You better give me my room to do my job. The best coaches just get the ball players, the playmakers the ball and get the hell out of the way. But you're expected to be hands-on, but not too handsy. It's how has that been?
I mean, you're getting to the crux of it all, where in the last year, obviously, we have learned a lot about the construction of a boot or shoe. But again, we're not the ones behind the machine. It's those craftsmen and men and women who have been doing it now for, pick an employee and how many years they've been there. It's just really eye-watering to see the operation in just seeing the production of a boot go from the start to the finish. It's a lot of fun.
Have they been kind of open with you guys? Like, hey, we would really appreciate more of this or less of that. Like, has communication been good?
I mean, I think that they've been lucky and we've been lucky that helicoptering hasn't really been an option because there's just not enough hours in the day right now for us. Like, we are so fully engaged in my case, it's been such a big overhaul of like the accounting and front office operations and getting things somewhat digitized and moved into the 21st century, really, because it was still done the exact same way as it was 50 plus years ago. That like, my time and my availability to micromanage is so limited that I think that it's good for me because I do tend to be like, I know that I'm overbearing, and so it kind of forced me to be like, I don't have the opportunity to do that. But then also, the things that we have been involved in, they've been so wonderful and so receptive. And I think part of what made us pull the trigger was that in that first day that we were walking through and talking and asking like, oh, well, can you guys do this? And can you do this? They were saying things like, oh my gosh, here, let me pull out this sample I made in my free time. Or, oh, look at this thing that I can do. We can do this. We've been waiting for this. Some of them made that comment to us in the first couple weeks of ownership. Like, we've been waiting for this opportunity to show you what we can do. And so a lot of it has been, setting them free and giving them the opportunity to say, hey, when you have some time, can you do this? Or there's some scrap over here. Can you make a belt out of it? And like letting them.
Taking the leash off.
Yeah.
Really.
Right. Letting them kind of lead in a sense.
To be artists.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what they are, is artists. But now you guys know the process so well, obviously, with even touring us. Do you think you could do it?
Nope.
No. Okay.
It'd be
Not
fun.
yet.
It'd be fun to try to use one of those old machines.
It'd be real funny looking.
Yeah.
The skill, though, is absolutely palpable. I mean, you just see, we've got some samples sitting in front of us of just the construction, and it is, you just don't find this type of quality anywhere much anymore.
Well, and I think to your point, talking about like wanting to purchase local items, wanting to do things, and that the cost is so much higher that it makes it difficult. And I think that this has opened my eyes to why that is the way that it is. Because for a lot of local companies, like made in the USA doesn't always mean made in the USA, which I didn't know that before.
Not even with beef, it doesn't. It's crazy.
It's finished. A lot of that requirement just means finished in the USA. So in our case, and in our competitors and footwear companies, so they can import a shoe that is 90% of the way made, and as long as they put that last finishing touch or zipper or whatever on it, they can stamp that it's a US made product in there. In our case, we are start to finish here in Omaha. We source everything we can domestically that we can. Obviously, some items have to be imported because it's just not an option. For example, rubber doesn't grow in North America. It's not something that can be produced here. Yeah. But every component comes to us individually, and it is fully built here. And because of that, it does cost more, and that's what we're learning. Like, it does cost us hourly wages, good wages comparative to what they would be if we were importing them from somewhere else. And so, but the turnaround, like I said, is that we have customers who call us saying, I'm ready. I had a man, his name was Charles. He was 85 from Texas, called me a couple weeks ago, and he was like, I'm ready for my second pair of Dehner boots. My first one is 50 years old, and it's finally fallen apart.
Oh, wow.
So,
jeez.
I'm sure he's probably pretty happy with that investment up front.
Right.
Because he wasn't replacing them.
Yeah.
So did you have to get like one of those mouthpieces when you sleep at night from grinding your teeth when you find out how loosey-goosey it was, that Made in America tag?
Yeah, it's just a learning thing. Yeah, it really is like something you would never consider if you weren't in the position to where you were like, wait a second, no, that's not the same. It's not fair.
But it's something that we can hang our hats on. These are handmade, custom boots made right here in Omaha. Which not enough people know about.
No. Let's get into some of that too. I want to ask you one other question before we start specifically talking about the boots. I don't know if you're at this stage yet in being a small business owner. I know it took me a little while to get to this stage, and I'm not really sure why when I think back on it, but had somebody ask me this question one time, and I want to know your guys' answer if you have it. In small business, when you leave and you go home and you do all the stuff and you go to bed, what keeps you up at night about this particular thing? Is there anything that you wake up thinking about, that when as soon as you get up in the morning and you get out of bed, this is on your mind, this is hammering at you? Is there anything like that in the business yet that you've experienced?
You want to go first?
Well, so part of the sale of the business, the building was going along with it.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing though that we have been blessed is Sue, the previous owner. She is selling the building, but so we were looking at, well, how the heck are we going to take this operation and pick it up and move it somewhere else?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, staying here in Omaha, but how are we going to do that? And you guys saw the factory.
Yep.
I mean, just imagining trying to get all of that out the door and getting it reset up. Luckily, we've got a group of investors that are coming in that are buying the building. Part of the stipulation was they wanted Dehner Boot Company to stay there. So we are absolutely blessed to be able to say that we are going to stay in that same location. But that was certainly for the last year of owning the company. That was always kind of in the back of our minds, where are we going to move to, and how are we going to execute that move? But, and then it's just like day-to-day stuff. But
I mean, I think for me, I don't know. There's always something new. There's always something, but yeah, it's for me, it's the employees. Like my biggest goal coming in here, because Josh and I are lucky. We have his retirement, the stuff. If all of this if shit was to hit the fan and this was to close down, like, we know that we would survive. We would be okay. We've got skills. We've got good background. Like, we're highly employable. But I worry so much about disappointing the employees.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would happen if we fail at this? What would happen to these employees who have given so much of their time and energy? I mean, between the time that the previous owner passed away and we closed on the business, the employees kept it afloat themselves. They kept the operations running. They didn't have a leadership, team in the office. They didn't have a company president in the office. They did it themselves. And I think I wake up and worry, like, that I'm going to disappoint them, or not be able to give them what they deserve, or not have enough time to get them what they deserve. Like, that for me is
worry.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
it's a good answer. So let's talk about the boots, the product themselves, the factory. This is, you mentioned earlier about, the Made in USA and people assembling things and stuff like that. When we took the tour, in my mind, it's truly a factory. Like, when you have things that are raw materials and you're turning them into something like this. We saw rolls and rolls of leather, and you guys, I'm going to get these terms wrong, but the inside pieces on them and all the different things that you make that get made there. It's truly made there. You're dealing with raw materials and you're putting this together. It's kind of crazy to think about. Tell us a little bit about the products themselves, some of the folks that you guys work with. I was surprised to see that there was so many different things that you guys make, although I know you guys kind of feel like, man, there's so many more that we can do, but there's a lot of options. It's called a boot company, but this to me is more of a shoe. Which there's some pretty cool versions of that too.
That's a chukka boot. You don't know what a chukka is? No, neither did I.
Pretty sharp. It's pretty sharp.
Yeah, because I think, honestly, I think a lot of listeners are probably like, okay, so how can I get this boot? So obviously you service individuals, but the majority of your boots, like you said in the first episode, are for...
Yeah, and let's talk about that process. Let's talk about the product, that process, because it's different. It's very unique in what you guys do. You guys ran into it before you came here today. Like, you guys didn't end up being late today, but you thought you were going to, because a customer came in, you had to deal with them and run this process. Yeah. So tell us about that. And by the way, if anybody wants to see what we're talking about, there's going to be video clips on YouTube. The episode will be on YouTube, so you can see what we're looking at. So let's go into that. Start where you guys would like to start.
So, the first part of the process is getting measured. So that's the part that I have kind of taken on as like my, I don't know, the skill that I learned, because it's such an important part that it's not just that we make a regular size. So like when you go to the store and you're like, I'm a size 8, I'm a size 9, and you pick up a size, like for us, that's not the way that our company operates primarily. We have some stock options. Josh will talk about that, but we measure every individual. Either I do in the office, or they go to one of our dealers where they get measured, and you have like 9 different measuring points along the leg and the foot depending on the style being ordered.
This is something that I would imagine most Americans have never experienced.
Right. Yeah.
I know I haven't.
Yeah, no, I had not.
Yeah.
I had not, I had not either. And so, yeah, where I've learned, and that's where we're working with the craftsmen and figuring out how they make patterns. Yeah, someone will come in and I will fill out a measure sheet and I will measure the ball, the instep, the heel, their ankle, like all of the measurements. And our team in the back is actually crafting an individual pattern on pattern paper for their foot. So it is not this is my typical size. And we also, because of the age of the company and the products being used, we're not using U.S. sizes. Our lasts, which is the mold that the foot, that the shoe is made on, are UK sizes. So then the sizing differs on that. But we also have widths from A to triple E. So where I normally, my US shoe size is like an 8.5 wide, because I've got wide little duck feet, right? But my size at work, my Dehner size is a 6E, because when I'm finally able to get enough width for my foot, I don't have to sacrifice the extra length to compensate for it. And so there really is, that's where the art comes in of like why it's worth it to get a custom piece of footwear made, is because suddenly it's like, wow, this is what it's like to have something that's meant for your shape and size foot. So yeah, step 1 is filling out this measure sheet, and part of that measuring process also involves tracing the individual's foot, because that's where like the width comes in. If you're standing flat, you don't ever want your pinky toe to be smushed inside your shoe. And so that's like another important aspect of it, is that, which makes it difficult. So this is a new obstacle, that we're trying to figure out how to modernize, because people have to mail in their forms, like snail mail their forms to us with their tracings. We've tried, people will say, oh, I'll just scan it to you, or I'll just send it to you. But we've seen over and over again that no 2 scanners are the same, no 2 emailer compacts a PDF down to the same size. And so the second that tracing is skewed too small or too big, that's not your foot anymore. So you're going to get a shoe that doesn't fit you. So yeah, one of our obstacles is to figure out how to create a scenario where people can properly measure themselves at home, or have a family member measure them, or go somewhere and send in their form without distorting
the image.
Tracings. Yeah.
Wow.
Image.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, I would say my major contribution to the process is getting the measurements right, and then they work their way to our factory for production. If you want to take over. Do you want to do that part?
Where else do we want to go with all of that? I mean, so all of the after the pattern is made and all the pieces of leather are cut and whatnot, then our super talented seamstresses sew all of the pieces together, and then when you start to talk about the sole of the shoe, this is what really makes us stand out, and that our process is still, like we mentioned, still the same as it's been for a century, where we're still doing the Goodyear welt. So what that means is there's a thin piece of, or not actually a thick piece of leather that goes between the upper leather and the sole. So it makes the boot more or less not waterproof, but water resistant. But if you look at a lot of boots that are made today, they don't do the Goodyear welt anymore. And it's just another step that when you're cutting corners, that's one of the first things that goes.
Same with the sole
and then
gluing,
and then the sole is sewn on, vice glued on, and you just don't find a lot of footwear that has sewn on soles anymore.
Yeah.
And of course that makes then the sole easily replaceable, rather than trying to glue on a new sole.
I mean, just even picking that up is, you can tell it's quality. Like there's just, I'm not saying it's heavy, but right? Like it's sturdy.
It's not light.
Like a quality product.
Yeah.
and there's a lot out there right now, which I get sucked into these rabbit holes and Andrew Huberman and biohacking and all this. And like, you guys are right on time. Like, you guys are in my feed because I'm getting all these videos about how the American foot has been destroyed due to shitty boots.
Are you
cheap
serious?
Boots,
I didn't know.
Cheap tennis shoes. I mean, squeezing feet in, being too wide for a narrow foot, all these different things. And I'm betting it's a two-way street where not only if this boot is made for the individual, it's going to make that foot, it's going to allow that foot to perform like a foot is supposed to. But that's also going to allow that boot to last forever because you don't have this foot trying to, you're talking, like I was watching one video, it was like the bunions that caused from this boot ended up giving this guy cancer.
Whoa.
Wow. Yeah, so it's like if
Okay.
you're wearing boots that don't fit right, you could down the road.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah, exactly. You better get Dehner's.
Yeah.
No, but you get what I'm saying. Like, I mean,
No,
it all works together.
That's a great advertisement for what we do. I'll go down a slight rabbit hole here.
I love it. That's what I'm on.
There is a book called Born to Run, and the premise behind it is talking about exactly what you're talking about, about more or less like how we run and how much we've changed over time, how we run. And what the author goes kind of deep into, particularly like marathon runners, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, you'll look at like the marathon times, and they were consistently being broken. As people are evolving and getting stronger and faster. And then about the time of the 70s, when Nike came aboard,
The waffle racer.
Right, that's exactly it. Where they started, with these real thick-soled, super comfy shoes, and what it changed in the runner was how you would strike, how your feet strike, and instead of running and more of like a mid-foot strike, now because you have that thick padding on those shoes, you're starting to do like heel strikes, and then that's when people started getting injured, hip injuries, knee injuries, ankle injuries. So really back to kind of what you're talking about. Yeah, our shoes are certainly not cushiony soles and whatnot, and a lot of people have said this from our customers, but they're so comfortable because they make your foot,
walk the way
They allow your foot to perform the way it's supposed to perform. Yeah.
It's almost more like what you're talking about with those soles that those more modern shoes have. Like that was something that had to happen because they were so uncomfortable. They had to figure out how to make them more comfortable with that sole.
Oh, yeah.
It was like
true.
they went the wrong way first and then figured, okay, how do we fix this problem?
Yeah, it went back around.
So from start to finish, if someone comes in or sends you that, it just depends on kind of your load and what's going on. It could be it's a few months, obviously, because these are handcrafted.
Yeah, so it does. It depends on where we're at in the year, what contracts we're on, because we have a limited production capacity because we're operating off of a set number of machines. We don't have this, we can throw a couple extras in the mix. Like, it requires a lot of attention to detail at each step that some machines are only right now operated by one person who really like has the feel for it. We right now kind of right around the 12-week mark is our best estimate. Sometimes a little longer, sometimes a little less. And of course, it does depend on the style. So the tall, knee length, knee height boots take longer because there's more processes that they need to go through than a dress shoe. Because we also do like an Oxford, the standard Oxford dress shoe, business shoe, which is a market that I feel like we've talked about over and over again, that we're like, people don't even realize that we're here because they hear boot company or they hear Dehner boots. And like you said, they picture a big boot, but like we have the capacity to make the perfect everyday dress shoe
that someone can have forever.
Yes.
That will never go out of style.
You get it the first your first year out of law school, and it is your courtroom shoe.
This is timeless. It really is.
Is that the word boot like something that, like, I'm just guessing or spitballing here, is that maybe like what footwear used to always be called, whether it was a shoe or a boot? Was it just like, hey, you're getting your boots on?
Oh,
maybe that's kind of where it came from.
I
don't know.
I'm not sure. We just like it. It is our primary right now product.
Like in
But
soccer.
yeah.
I mean, I grew up playing soccer. Like in Europe, they
that's
call
right.
your
Yeah.
cleats your boots.
Yeah, shoes
You know?
like in general
Or
is
the
just
boot
like a
of your
term
boot.
boot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's what the deal is.
Maybe.
But yeah, like Andy said, and like you were talking about there, yeah, it's a timeless design. That's something that goes perfectly with today. You know, for a 150-year-old company or whatever it is.
That's right.
Yeah.
You want to talk timeless? Okay, so strap in for this one. Okay, so
All right.
General Patton started his career as a cavalry officer.
Mhm.
So he was on horseback. He had become acquainted with Dehner Boots during that time as part of his career. I think he was even stationed at Fort Riley. So, like I'd mentioned in the first episode, that's where Dehner got its start. So fast forward, now he's a tank corps commander, and he, right before World War II, so in the late 1930s, him as a tank officer wanted a boot for his troops. He contacted Dehner Boot Company, having been already accustomed to Dehner boots, to design a shoe or design a boot. He wanted it to be not laced but have straps, because when you're inside of a tight tank with moving pieces and whatnot, you want to have straps, not something with laces that could potentially get caught on things, whatever. And then when you're out in the field doing maintenance on your tank, you just don't want to be dealing with laces in the muck and the mud and whatever. So anyway, he designed a boot with straps that go around your ankle for ankle support, and then another strap that goes over the top of your boot. So those boots were produced for his tank corps during World War II, right there in Dehner Boot Company. Well, now fast forward, and we're contracted with some of the greatest fighter pilots in the world, the Navy and Marine Corps, Blue Angels and Air Force Thunderbirds, and that's the boot that they still wear today.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
We got to take a look at a couple of those that you guys had in process when we were walking through the facility, and it's wild to see and to think that that's where those are going.
Yeah.
And then you guys do a couple of unique things for them as well that you had showed us with like the stamping on them. What was that? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the Thunderbirds get their jet number imprinted on the outside of the boot. It's real sharp looking gold foil stamp. Funny story about that though. So we were under a super tight deadline around Christmas time frame to get those boots out to the pilots, and I'm going through and I'm doing a QC on them, and the number 5 was upside down, and I'm like, oh no.
And these are all on the outside of the boot, like you can see it.
Yeah, on the
right.
outside of the boot. I'm like, oh no, guys, we gotta. What can we do? How can we fix this? And all the people there just start laughing, and they're like, no, it's tradition that the number 5 is upside down because that's the jet that's typically inverted. So
you got it right.
was correct.
Your people knew.
And that's where you have to trust the subject matter experts, because
Right.
they knew it. They've been doing it for forever.
God, I bet you were sweating
Oh,
bullets. That would've been
shoot.
miserable.
It'd be badass too to be that guy who's got
Yeah.
your boots have your number on upside down because you fly upside down.
You're the invert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a Thunderbird, right? Bellevue West.
Yeah, right, from school.
Yeah. They don't get the
Little
gold
bit-
seal. They
little
don't
bit
get the gold
different.
seal on their boots.
No.
And that stamping that you guys do as well, there's something like unique that goes on the inside of the boots with that
And you
too,
can see
right?
it here,
Yeah.
on these boots. Every boot, you stamp them.
Part of the customization of it is that inside every pair of boots or shoes that we make, everybody is assigned a serial number, and so that gives us the opportunity to look that information back up later in the event. We have some people who reach out and say, "Oh, I found my grandpa's boots and I want to remake them or recreate them for me. Can you tell me what they were?" And we're able to use that number to look it up, which is cool. But we also, alongside that number, imprint the customer's name, or in some cases, call signs or nicknames. Like they can choose to have whatever they want imprinted inside of the boot or shoe, pressed in there in gold foil, which is kind of another like cool customization piece of it, that it's like, nope, this is made for you, to your feet size, to your dimensions, and it's like one of one. There's no other one out there like it, and
Boy, that's awesome.
just super
That's
special.
It's pretty crazy too. Exactly what you're talking about. You were telling us a story when we were there about, someone calling about something from years and years ago, and you had to go into the archives and pull out these little cards on that kind of described how everything was made at that time, and find the history on it, and get the details for that particular customer, so many years later, and it's just you just don't see that kind of stuff anymore.
No.
Yeah,
no.
we have a paper ticket for every boot that's been made since 1931.
Andy,
in
it
our
would blow your
factory.
mind.
Oh, I know what they're talking about. I know the registry that
Just
you're.
enormous. Yep.
I think we should get Elise some boots made when he becomes a doctor.
Oh yeah,
in a
she'd
couple
like that.
years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. We're
It'd be like
definitely
a
in one way or
graduation
another.
gift.
We're gonna get something
I
at some
want
point.
some too, but yeah.
Yeah.
I can afford the coasters. Maybe we'll work out a deal.
Friends and family discount. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So, as we, now that we're reaching 1 year of ownership, but we are still finding out about even deeper legacy of this company, and it's just absolutely incredible. So, as we're going through some of the paperwork, we have tickets for Ronald Reagan. We made boots for him, and picture of him, or actually a picture of the letter. The original
letter,
the original letter from him from the White House to Dehner Boot Company, just thanking him for great product. And
Wow.
We've got the replica of John Glenn's NASA boot that they made for him for the original, or which space flight? I always forget.
Dehner's been to space?
Dehner's. We made boots for NASA.
Mercury.
There we go.
Operation Mercury.
Yeah. So we have that one in the office that people get to come through and look at, and they're like, wait, is this it? And we're like, yeah, that's it. That's the exact replica of the one that John Glenn had made. What else?
James Dean, Walt Disney, Jackie Onassis.
A couple days ago, we pulled out some Nicole Kidman tickets that someone found for a movie that she was in. They've made lots of boots for movies, like the movie Fury. They didn't end up making the final cut, but they made a lot of tanker boots for, I think, a lot of war movies that they've gone through. Yeah, there's just all of these opportunities that we're just constantly, endlessly impressed and like just mind blown.
Ford versus Ferrari, the racing boot.
Yep.
Captain America, one of the Captain Americas, I think when he goes back in the 30s or something like that. Boots for that.
Wow.
It's pretty cool too to think that
really
they're
cool.
using authentic products for those kinds of things. Because just for me, like I've never been on a movie studio, but I just imagine like you just use a bunch of fake stuff that looks
fake
good.
props.
You can make the camera do whatever you want it to do. But no, they're like actually
We're going to go out
buying
of
the real
business
deal.
when AI boots become
Yeah.
like when just wear these green socks and then they'll put them in later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does the leather process work? Like where does that come from?
Like, where do they get the leather?
Yeah.
Yeah, we source from several tanneries throughout the U.S. One in Wisconsin, Oklahoma.
Colorado and California. Yeah, we've got a few vendors that we use.
But it's a finished product
Yeah.
when it gets to us. So yeah, we
It's
don't
rolls of it.
right.
And
Yeah.
it's all leather. There's that really cool boot store in the middle of Waldrug. If anybody's been on I-90, you know Waldrug. And I love walking through there, just the smells, the leather, But there's always some really fancy ostrich
Oh.
boots. I'm always thinking like, oh man, if I had like $900 I didn't care about,
I
I would
guess.
definitely be walking out with those ones.
We've had some pretty cool, some cool stuff come through. That was the other thing, we inherited this leather wall, and in and amongst the leather wall is a lot of treasures, including, some like specialty items that were used for one or two things, and we've got leftovers.
Well, when we were there, didn't you guys have alligator or crocodile?
Oh yeah, gators.
And that was an interesting
Yeah.
story too, where that came from.
Yeah, I don't think he'd mind if I use his name, Steve Foster. So he owns, amongst other things that he does, Grandma Foster's barbecue sauce. Shout out to him. He was on Swamp People.
I don't remember what-
something.
Probably
Yeah.
swamp people.
Something.
He was on the show, and he had harvested a gator, brought it in, and can you make boots out of this? And he was like, yeah, absolutely we can. So we'll be tackling that product or project basically now. Yeah.
It's in process.
I
That's
love
crazy.
that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Can you do this? Hell yeah, we can. Drop it off.
When we went
Yeah.
in there was this piece of alligator hide
Yeah.
that I guess had been tanned, or I don't know what the process is. It's ready for you to start working with.
Yeah.
And it's just laying there on the table, and they were showing us what they were going to make out of it. It's
That's
pretty
awesome.
neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Omahans and Nebraskans and Midwestern folks in general should be pretty proud of what's going on there. We kept saying it when we visited. I can't believe this is going on here, and I've never seen this.
Yeah.
Obviously, behind the scenes, the company's been doing big things for a long time. It's just not. It's not like a real mainstream thing that a lot of folks realize. Even though the boots are in major movies and on the feet of the most badass fighter pilots in the world and whatever else, but we all don't even know.
I know
that it's going on, but it's happening right here in our backyard in Omaha. We had mentioned on the first episode, in case folks didn't listen to that or went straight to this one or whatever, where you guys are located. Just talk about that real briefly, because it was kind of in a unique area.
Yeah. The address is 3614 Martha Street. We're in Omaha, and it's one of those things where you don't typically have people who like accidentally show up, because we are in like a very residential area. We are one industrial building in an in a residential area, but I guess I don't even know where to go with this.
If you're from around here at all, Martha Street. I mean, that's just kind of an iconic area of Omaha, but I can almost guarantee you don't know this place exists.
I
You should
didn't.
definitely go down there and check
I
it
didn't. But I mentioned Dinkers right down the road from you guys. They just had they just turned 100, 125, and that's a hamburger shop for people that don't know. So they had a big celebration over the summer, and that's my main tie to there. That's where the guys would always want to go eat.
Dude, you could imagine
Dinkers.
back in the day, because I think didn't you guys say something about, was it like 1930 or so in Omaha when it started?
First in Farnham,
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they went from Wichita to Omaha, it was right around 1930.
Yeah. So you could imagine, like you're saying, Dinkers is not too far down the street, so they're probably working at the factory. They're probably walking down for a burger.
Dinkers and back to the
Getting-
All those
factory.
getting a
people would know
burger.
each other. Yeah.
The whole South Omaha boys. And, you're talking about just the mindset of Midwestern people in general and giving, tipping the cap to Omaha. And I think it's fitting that their tagline or setting that has been, "We don't coast. Omaha, we don't coast." And when I look at these boots, that's exactly that. There's no corners being cut when you guys are making boots. And it also goes back to what you said, and what I think your vision was for this podcast was, you want to shine the light on everyday people doing really cool shit, things that you don't realize are even happening. And that's definitely what Dehner is. I had no idea there's a boot company in Omaha. It's been around since 1875.
I mean, I
like
feel
when
like
you were saying
it's-
a century, no, that's what he means. He
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
just saying
Yeah.
that.
It's so cool. Have you guys thought about truly, like, we enjoyed the whole process, like taking people on tours. Like, how could you even do that?
Oh yeah, we've got big dreams.
thought, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's already a thought. I just thought, how businesses have that, and they're like, oh, you get to see people actually working and doing it, and it's the
Oh,
process.
the tagline's going to be boots and brews, and we're going to get a keg, and then people are going to have sampling. We've got all these great ideas, and then of course, we have to remind ourselves that it's slow and steady.
It's
and
it's
if you
tough,
would have told me in October of last year that like we'd be hitting 1 year and we'd still have just made the social media, like I would have been like, no way, because I've got all these things we're going to do.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, like I said, there's just not enough hours in the day.
Yeah, reality sets in.
Yeah, so we've
That's-
got all of these. We just started working with a risk management company that's going to help us go through and make sure that we have the factory in condition where I want to bring people through.
Yeah.
I just have to make sure that we remove all of the opportunities for somebody to trip and the liability
true.
or all of those things where we get to do all of the fun planning, but then we have to make sure that, and this is where the military background comes in, that we have the capacity for the two of us to communicate really well with one another and with the team and saying yes, we want to do this great big thing, but before we can do that, we have to do a strategic plan of how do we get there and make sure that it's done correctly and successfully and in a way that has long-term,
It's got to pencil out. It's got to be able to work.
Right.
And in my previous life, my in the death care industry, I used to love bringing people and taking them through a tour of our factory, and they liked it too. Like I explained to them, this is the process, this is what's happening. Oh, they just see the finished product, the vault. But actually getting to see the mud being put in, the prep work that goes. This is what attaches the liner to the concrete. It is very interesting. And
there's interest in it. Like people would love it.
Yeah, you wouldn't know that existed unless you actually went in that steel building and saw what the hell was going on in there.
Yeah. The thing that I'm thinking about when you guys were talking about that is it is an experience, and that's part of what makes these things different, is that you're not just going online and picking one out of inventory and having it sent to you. It's an experience, and if folks are lucky enough to live close enough to the area where they can come down and see you and go through that and kind of see how all that works and then have that experience, that pride in the final product that's coming out that they get to wear for the next 50 years, hand down to their whatever. It's just a cool, super cool thing. And I know you guys have some ideas and some dreams that we had talked about when we were there about elevating that experience even more, which I'm sure you guys will get to at some point.
Yeah, the showroom currently, there's so much that we want to try to do to just turn that into more of an experience for somebody when they come down and actually see us. We've got big dreams about that, but to still honor the legacy of the company, and just really turn that experience into something that's really special.
Yep. Talk about what some of the stuff that you guys have inherited. You're starting to find. There's extra things laying all over the place. You've got maybe some more inventory than you thought you had. You're trying to figure out some plans to put together to try to move through some of that stuff. What kind of things do you guys have going on with that?
Yeah, so we have one of the jokes when we first started going into the factory was that there was not a single surface that didn't have a boot on it, and every cabinet corner thing, like there was just boots everywhere. And one of the things that our team in the back did, my sense of time now, weeks ago, was that they kind of made a game of it one day where it was like, all right, everybody, you got to find partners for these. Like, pick up a boot and then go see if you can find its mate, because there were split up pairs just absolutely everywhere. And the team was able to spend a morning doing it, and we found dozens of pairs of wonderful, gorgeous boots that, somebody had picked up one day and walked and then set down somewhere else, and that for years, some of them have been sitting. And so it kind of gave us this idea of we've got so much here, so much potential, and so much opportunity for people to come in and get a good deal on, because again, even if something has been sitting on the shelf for a couple years, it's an all leather, genuine leather, handcrafted, sewn together item. It's not as if it's just going to fall apart in the box. It is still a perfect item. And so for us, we decided that we wanted to get the opportunity to engage with the community and the local barns and hunt clubs and police officers and just anybody. And we've decided to do a big warehouse sale this month to celebrate 1 year of our ownership, but also this year is 150 years since the business originated. And so we're setting up October 18th and 19th at our factory. We're going to do a big warehouse sale so that all of those boots and mates and stuff that we found in stock and storage, and some vintage furniture that we found, some antique artwork that we found. We've kept a lot of it for ourselves, but there's just so much to share that we really decided we wanted to use it as kind of an open door opportunity to get people to come see what we've got and what we've got to sell, and give some good discounts and just get engaged.
So what's the times then, if you're local, from
18 to 19?
Yeah, 18, 19, that Saturday, Sunday. We chose that. No Husker football
Gotta
games.
take that into account.
Okay.
Good move,
So they
move.
play on Friday night up in Minnesota. So we were like, yep, that's a perfect opportunity for a Saturday, Sunday sale. 10 to 5.
Okay.
There at our location, 3614 Martha Street.
10 to 5. Love it.
If
We're coming.
When you were talking about you were finding a random shoe here, a random shoe there, I was thinking of some old prevention loss classes I had to take in college, and yours has a happy ending because it reminded me of Greyhound buses got a new CEO in. They brought a consultant in, and he's like, "Well, how many buses you got?" "I don't know." "Well, where are they?" "I don't know." So he ran an inventory. They were missing 11 buses. A bus.
They didn't even know.
Didn't even know where a bus was. Couldn't, to this day, can't account for those 11 buses. But at least, and they never got them back. Those buses were gone. You actually found the pairs of the shoes, and you're turning it into opportunity or reach out, the community. That's awesome. So yours has a happy ending, unlike.
And we have a lot of inventory, so please come on down. This is a great opportunity.
Absolutely, that's cool that you guys will be able to do that, and hopefully it'll get some more folks, familiar with the factory and the facility and where you're at, and come down and get some good deals on some stuff. If you go online to the website, I know you guys are working on all the social media and the website and those kinds of things, but folks can visit your website if they want to see some stuff and learn a little bit more. That's Dehner.com, Dehner.com. On the contact us page, it does have your address, phone number, those kinds of things if folks didn't want to rewind the episode here to find the address. Are you guys doing anything on social media yet? Have you started tackling that?
Yeah, so we just got, and that was part of all of it too, like when we purchased the company and we inherited the existing social media, and then kind of we're looking at it, and we were just ready for it to feel like ours and not so much that like we are taking over someone else's. So we did just start new Instagram and Facebook pages. A Dehner Boot Company is where you'll find us. We did a rebrand, so we did a new logo this year where we had the logo updated. Again, it's kind of like this way for us to capture and preserve like the legacy and the history, but still feel like it's now our family business and not somebody else's family. So yeah, both of those pages are up, and we've just started posting on them, and the website is under reconstruction. It is still www.dehner.com. And they're now in the process of updating the logo on that, and we've been doing some redesign, and then we'll probably do a more large-scale overhaul to allow us to do some more e-commerce and interact a little bit more on there in the coming year. But man, you never know until you're doing it just how much time and energy and effort goes into like trying to decide like what's our footprint going to look like.
100%.
So.
That's great. I think one of the things that I kind of want to close with is just kind of like what you guys think about the future of the industry. Everything we hear about now, we joked earlier about AI and all that kind of stuff. You guys are such an old school company doing things in an old school way that feels like it's timeless. But, what do you think it looks like? Have you even had the opportunity to just kind of sit back and look at like where the industry's going and what this looks like in the next 10, 15, 20, another 150 years?
It's a fantastic question. And I think that's one certainly a concern that I have had. It's like, what is this going to look like in 5, 10, 15, and beyond years? Because certainly with everything that's becoming automated, AI, technology, synthetic materials, so on and so forth, where will that leave us? And I'd like to think, and this is where I'm going to try to be glass half full, is that something that's custom, that is handmade, that will still be very much coveted by people. That's what I'd really like to hope for our company and the industry, is that, when everything becomes so perfect with AI and robotics and so things and so forth, will people still want to gravitate towards less perfection, but with something that's handmade by handmade or human hands? And that's where at least I'm gonna hang my hat on. That's where people will still covet that kind of thing. And
yeah, I think like fast fashion is going out. So like when we were younger and when it became easy to be like, okay, I can go get a $5 shirt, and then it falls apart and like now I have so much faith in the younger generation. Like I've seen my friends' kids and like my friends that now have teenagers who are like, no, we thrift. Like we're not wasteful. I don't want to spend $1 on this and then have it fall apart and have to throw it in the trash. So I think that like my hope is that it's not going to be one of those things that is only directed at a certain group, where it's like it's only luxury or it's only this, but that it's going to become like people understand the investment when they're younger. Like I
Yeah.
think that the younger group of people, like I had a mom bring her daughter in the other day because she was like, she's 16, her feet have stopped growing. I'm getting her, she loves Doc Martens and that kind of look, but she's got, her foot is a little bit wide or whatever it was. Yeah. And she's like, I'm willing to invest a couple $100s to get her this pair of boots now because I know she'll be wearing them.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's kind of the mentality of that
Yeah.
group now is like, no, it's a worthwhile investment to do it once. I don't want to buy a new pair of shoes every year. My friends that are on farms, my friends that are in like the horse industry are like, I'm so sick of having to buy a new pair of dressage boots twice a year because they're wearing out. I want to get them once and wear them. And like, I still have a lot of like optimism that
Yeah.
that's going to prevail, and that kind of mentality of like, no, let's not be wasteful. We don't need a synthetic material that's going to fall apart. Like, let's use one good quality item. Like, I'm still really optimistic that that's going to continue to be trending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I second that.
I would agree.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. I think just the fact that the company is still around in a form that has not been using social media, really hasn't been using the web, very well.
Paper documents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just goes to show you that there is a want, a desire out there for that kind of product, for that kind of experience. Even for us, like even in our generation, something that has a story behind it is worth so much more, as opposed to just some commoditized thing that you can buy, like you said, every other year or whatever the case may be. So having that story, having something that human hands have touched and put together, and there's a craftsmanship and an art to it. It's kind of like when you were talking about that earlier, Josh. You were mentioning the AI things. I was thinking about like music, like artists. And how there's these AI songs coming out and stuff. And there's some of them they're catchy. They're like, oh, that's pretty good. But at some point, people start thinking like, man, actually there was something more to this that I didn't even realize, and was that feeling that it came from someone that created it.
Mm-hmm.
Someone thought about this. Someone went through the emotion and the physical actions of creating this thing, and it means something.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys are doing. That's what's different from so many other organizations. And I agree with you. I mean, I think it is timeless. I think it's going to continue to carry on no matter what happens with technology.
And kids are assholes. Like you're putting out there.
Oh my God.
But on top of that,
That's not random. You told
There's
me
just
squirrel
so
yes
dumb.
earlier.
well, no. You're talking about how kids they've had enough. They've been lied to over this, over that, recycling, whatever you want to talk about. Like there's
Like
something to it.
okay,
Yeah,
they're
and so
figuring it out.
they're more on. They'd rather have this than a piece of shit from a sweat factory or whatever.
Yes.
Whatever. I also think consumers are already starting to revolt, and we're sick and tired. One of my good buddies that cuts down trees for a living. That's what he does. He cuts down trees.
Mm-hmm.
When he sees a chainsaw now that was made like 97 or earlier, he buys it no matter what shape it's in. He just buys it. Because all these chainsaws from these really good manufacturers, won't name names, but the good ones, there's like a set hours limit on it now, where it's going to fall apart and be a piece of shit, and you got to go buy a new one. And whether you're talking home appliances, shoes, whatever, everything's set up to have that timer on it. Light bulbs to just burn out, be dead, so you have to go buy a new one. And I thought to myself, wow, what if there's a company out there that try to make a product that's going to like last? I would buy
here
that.
they are.
I was going to say that here we are.
Yeah.
Another full circle moment for me. So
Yeah.
no, I thank you guys for coming by, and I think this is going to hit not just on boots, but all other products. Like I think consumers are tired of buying a piece of shit, and we're tired of being treated like shit, right?
You couldn't have said it better, or I couldn't have said it better.
I do taglines. I write taglines. Yeah.
But no, but back to that's what we can hang our hat on.
Yeah.
Is that we know that our boots are still made the same way that they've been made since 1930, and we know that because we're still using the equipment
Literally.
that they did back in the 1930s and so on and so forth. One of the things that a friend brought up to me, and I was like, man, that is so cool to think about. The same boots that made General Patton's boots, that made Ronald Reagan's boots, all the people that we already talked about, that machine is still in operation today. It's just,
Yeah,
it's just,
wild.
it's just kind of one of those cool moments you think about.
If you're getting a if you're getting a boot made with us or a shoe made with us, it is probably being sewn on the exact same machine that made Walt Disney's shoes and boots and Ronald Reagan's boots. You know, like it's the same machine.
Yeah.
So
Pretty cool.
Yeah, we talked earlier about the one machine you guys have had to invest in so far, which I'm sure there's more of that coming based on what I'm seeing in there. But that old stuff was made to last. But man, that equipment, it's so old school. And from a mechanical minded guy, when you go in and you see that stuff, it's so neat to see it operate. And it's doing as good of a job today as it was then as well. And you've got and again, we go to those craftsmen. I mean, you've got guys and ladies who are working on this equipment, using this equipment. We're like, that dude, like when you took us in the back, like that one dude, he's the only one that can use this thing. Because this thing is like his baby. Like he knows if it's making a certain noise, he knows something's going on here. Here's where I need to I need to adjust this or hold it that way or do whatever.
Yeah, that's what I thought one of you guys were going to say. What keeps you up at night is like, how do you replace somebody that decides that they need to leave, or since someone's been there for 51 years? Like that would be or if the piece of equipment goes out, oh my gosh, how do we get this thing fixed? It's 150 years old.
For the common folk out there, come if you are interested in this type of work, please come see us, because particularly the gentleman that we were talking about that's been there since 1974, he doesn't want to be doing this the rest of his life. So yeah, he's said, hey, you should start trying to get
we're
somebody
trying to get
in
him
that
apprentice.
Yeah, you gotta find that replacement. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, if anybody's interested in being an apprentice cobbler, give us a call, because we are still right now actively trying to source and bring in some new people with some new skills. And I mean,
I feel like that's another thing with this next generation that you're talking about as well. Like more and more of them are interested in getting into some of the trades, a career that they know is going to be around to last, something they can really get in and go to work, and rely on it.
Yeah. That's us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Well, is there anything that, you guys hoped we would ask that we didn't, or anything else you guys would like to cover before we head out?
Boy, you guys have done a great job of an interview. Yeah, no, this is very comprehensive. But no, we just want to mention one more time the sale, the warehouse sale that we're doing here in a couple weeks.
October 18th and 19th down at the facility, 3614 Martha Street. Check them out on the web, dehner.com. And then check out the socials. I'm assuming more and more stuff's going to be coming from you guys on that. Yeah. Dehner Boot Company. Is that what it is on the social handles?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and we'll share all that as well. We'll put some links in the episodes.
For sure.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
Cool. Well, appreciate you guys, man. It's great catching up.
Thank you.
Love seeing you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. Hopefully the drive wasn't too bad.
It's a little rainy.
It's always a joy driving through this area.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, you guys got anything else?
Nope.
All right.
Later.
Close it
Peace.
out. See ya.